Hey everybody, this is Taylor with Top Pick Trading here for your Friday bar by bar review. It's Friday, May 31st, 2024, and today is one of the craziest days I've seen in a very long time. So this bar by bar may take a little while. There's a lot of bars today, a lot of crazy trends, big reversal. So let's go ahead and get started. This is about 8 o'clock right here, so you would have come in and you'd see that there's some type of range action here with maybe a trend here that doesn't have a break into extreme, but you can see we've reversed a lot of that now, so you'd go ahead and draw what looks to be another uptrend here. And we're coming right up on these overnight highs at this point, so let's see what happens. Turns right at the overnight highs, but you still got the uptrend in play. Blows right through it. Must have been an 8:30 news item. Yes, core CPI. So it looks like maybe there's a break new extreme from that. This is just chaos, so don't be trading in this. Just pushing higher, pushing higher. And at this point, there may be some bigger channel. Something like this here. That actually looks pretty good. Still pretty chaotic, so I'd probably be waiting. Maybe if it comes back to the EMA and calms down a little bit, we can consider a second entry long. So we get a first entry, second entry way up here, so nothing here. Congested, this move up was really strong, so I wouldn't consider taking the trade either way. Just chopping lower. Obviously some congestion here. Looks like maybe a micro downtrend in play as well. Comes to the EMA, bounces, but doesn't give a good bar. We've got that downtrend in play as well. You can see it after the break of the micro downtrend, it reverses strongly, would have stopped you out if you were going for a big scalp. Pushes under the EMA. Now we got a break new extreme right into the open. This still probably wants to retest because it was a really strong move. But you know, you broke out of this overnight range, so we may want to come back and test this level first. So just keeping that in mind. Right now, the EMA just showed resistance, but we're getting pretty close to the 50% retracement of this uptrend, so we may turn here soon. Pushes lower one more time, still chopping lower. Looks like maybe we can draw the retest leg in and of itself. It also has a retest now. Chops sideways. Looks like maybe there's a little range here. Now pushing higher, probably going to go for that retest. Maybe we can get a second entry long before this trend gets too far up. We get a first entry and then it just keeps pushing. Maybe something wider like this looks decent. Breaks through. You can see it turn to this resistance level here. Looks like maybe not really a retest yet on this, so we'll see what happens. It's starting to look more like a range in here. Obviously, we've got the micro downtrend here in play. Could be an overshoot, but I drew it as a 2-tier so far. Let's see. Notice it bounced at this support level, so now we have a break from it. Maybe we can come back and get a long opportunity. You do get this bar. This is a little bit tempting, but I'd want something maybe a tick or two better. Notice also it made the lower low here. So a lot of the times this move here is pretty strong. It may get a second leg to a new low. So maybe if we get a higher low, you can consider this. So if we come back here and form a higher low, and we do, but unfortunately the bar is just not very good. It's a doji type bar, finishing really high. I would have liked this bar to be the setup bar, closing near the support level, and then a little wick here and closing somewhere in here. But this is just too high up. Setup bar is the wrong color, so, and you can see it would have stopped you out. Starts to push lower now, and you can draw this as a bigger trend at this point. We may get a measured move on that. At this point, you're probably thinking that it's going to at least try to come back and test this overnight, well, not the overnight high, but the previous overnight range area. Could move a measured move of this as well, so we're going to keep that in mind. Chopping lower. Second entry short, but it appears this has played out. There could be some type of spike in channel. If you would have seen that in real time, you know, you maybe could have considered a second entry short here, but closer to the EMA, of course. This is just kind of no man's land and a little bit congested looking. Would have worked nonetheless. Pushes higher. Let's see how the EMA acts. We get a failed second entry short here, but really not all that close to not all that far from the EMA, so I don't think you want to take that. It would have blown through. You probably would have gotten your scalp. And let's see if we can come back to this previous range high. Nothing here. Obviously, there's a little micro uptrend here that seems to be in play, but with a break and new high now. You get a higher low here, but this is just kind of no man's land. Not really sure what's happening. And now we push a lot lower, so there may be something bigger at play here. You can see that actually fits off the lows pretty well and the midline too. Kind of weird to find that the empty space up here is a little odd, but we'll keep an eye on this because of how well the midline and the lows fit. We'll also draw a micro trend here. Maybe we can get a second entry short if we come back to the EMA. Let's draw this gold. Oops. All right, so we get a break, new low, it looks like. Maybe not. Maybe we just can expand it just a bit to make it fit. That still looks pretty good there. So this still is in play. Let's see what happens when we come off the lows. We do come off the low side here. It holds, bounces lower again, just chopping higher. We get a first entry short, bounces at this level again, so just no trade setting up just yet. Chopping lower, you can see that midline seems to be holding there. Now dropping way lower. Bounces right at the overnight, or on the underside of the trend channel. You can see the overnight lows. Let's draw that across there. This is the real low, but we bounced here a couple more times, it appears, right here, and twice right here. So we'll watch this level. Also this one, you know, maybe you want to watch it. We'll keep an eye on both. We bounced a little bit below that, so. And we get a micro trend up. We get a first entry short, and we want to probably come back and test this trend line and the EMA, maybe this level as well, like I mentioned. We do come back. We're coming up right on the trend, on the key entry point of the bigger channel, and we get a second entry with a bar closing on its low. No wick on the bar, unfortunately. It does have an equal high, but with the bar that bearish, right off the key entry point of the bigger trend channel, also testing this little previous range area. Not really pushing or rejecting off this a little bit higher, but basically at the EMA as well, 2 clear legs up. I really like this trade. Big risk size, so maybe you want to drop a limit, but I'm still going to mark that red. Pushes up, and now we get this lower high. Closes a little bit low, but with how bearish this is, coming off that key entry point, look how it just touched the EMA. And if you watch this bar form live, you would have seen it. It pushed up here and just instantly rejected down. You still got plenty of room to that low where it's probably headed. That's 3 points still. So a really nice confirmation trade. I don't think you could have, yeah, it didn't back up much. So if you didn't drop a stop, you probably wouldn't have gotten in it. But you could have gotten a nice limit on that second entry short. So I really like both of those, just with how bearish it is, right at the key entry point. Pushes a lot lower, ends up chopping sideways though. Drops lower again. Fighting at that midline from the upper side this time. Looks like it breaks the trend channel line. We get a first entry short, a little bit congested though. Backs up, just chopping sideways, so unfortunately nothing there. Little congestion area. Ends up pushing lower now. Excuse me, comes back. Bouncing at this level now. This may just be, almost looks like a bigger range in and of itself. So we'll redraw that. Resistance a little bit shaky. It looks like maybe right in here. We get a lower high, but right into the lows of this range. Really good bar off the EMA, so I get it, but I wouldn't take that personally. Just chopping in this range. I wouldn't be taking any longs. Breaking down lower. Nothing here. Get a failed second entry short technically by the count, but I'm still not taking a long. It would have worked pretty nicely, trap shorts there. Coming back up on the resistance level now. We got a micro trend in play, it appears. We get a first entry short, and we get a second entry short potentially if this triggers, but kind of like a doji type bar. You could argue there's a close outside new high from this trend already. It's not exactly clear. This maybe looks like it happened all in one bar. Then you get a lower high here, but kind of no man's land. It is pretty far from the EMA. If this bar was stronger, I think you could take it. Does work. Comes back. A little bit of congestion here. Technically a second entry long, but I'm not taking any longs here. And now you get this technically a failure. Really, the failure happened here. Broke higher and then broke lower. This is just kind of like a congested continuation of a failure. It's a little bit above that support. If this just formed as a better bar, maybe you could consider that as a failure, but just really congested there. So I don't think you want to take that. It would have worked nicely. Breaks lower. Pushes below the support level here. And so now we've got one leg down. And we get this nice bar for a higher low here, but still, I'm not taking longs. It's just too risky on a day like today. If this was just a straight range day, I think that's a pretty decent trade to consider, but not on a day like today. May have could have gotten a little scalp, comes back and stops you out. It appears like maybe there's some slightly wider trend here. Let's see if we can get it to fit. Maybe something like that. Breaks it anyway. Nothing in this area. This is just fighting between the EMA and the support level. I don't really like any of this. No good bars. Chop sideways. We get this test like breakout pullback, but just kind of unknown area. Like I don't really know what to think because we've got the downtrend. All the downtrends have played out probably. So let's just kind of wait and see if something else forms. It does appear to be something forming. Keeps chopping lower, so maybe you look at something like this or just barely widen it. It's not the cleanest trend, but clearly we're working lower now. Looks like we've probably moved past the measured move of the range as well. Yeah, we're pretty much right at it. So let's see what happens now when we come back to the EMA. Push above that, so looks like probably a break on that now. We get this really nice bar for a higher low, but this downtrend doesn't have a new low yet. And it's pretty much right into this previous range low. And you can see that actually forms a second entry short, but unfortunately it's right forming into that EMA. It's a really big bar, so I don't think you want to take that. I get it, again, if you risk it there, but personally I'm just kind of in an unknown area. We get this little lower high now. Kind of congested, unfortunately, the bar is not all that great. So I don't think there's a trade there either. Doesn't trigger anyway. We're just stacked sideways. You're getting good bars each way. That can be a dangerous thing because it'll tempt you in. I don't think you want to take it. Yeah, you can see how flat that EMA is there, so no trades there. Pushes a lot lower now. There may be something bigger at play. I was watching something like this in real time. It looks pretty decent. Not perfect, but we'll keep an eye on that as well. Clearly see that we're still just pushing lower. So now this looks like it has played out. Pushing lower. Maybe there's another trend channel at play. Nothing fits too cleanly. Just chopping lower, just nothing here. Drop to the overnight, or drop to the underside of this trend channel. And now clearly there was something at this point, but didn't matter. You were so far from the MA. And now it appears like we have an overshoot from this channel. You can see how clearly this midline's fitting right through here. So I do believe this is the correct bottom, underside of the trend channel. So this does appear like there's an overshoot. This move was pretty strong, so let's see what happens at the EMA. We get 3 strong bullish bars, all closing on or near their high, so that's can be dangerous to try to short. Let's see if the EMA shows a good rejection for the first entry long. And we get the bar here for the first entry, and you can see it just stacks up as congestion at the EMA. We get like a 3-tick bar for a second entry. It is also kind of like a triple test, but like I mentioned, the strength in this move combined with the fact that this is pretty much clearly an overshoot, combined with the fact that the first entry didn't go very far, combine the fact with the congestion. All those things together makes me want to avoid this. Yeah, sure, small risk size, but also not showing much momentum right in the middle of congestion. And you can see it would have stopped you out. You get a failed second entry short, but right into the high. I'm still not taking any longs yet. Appears like there's some type of little trend channel here that may have played out now. We get this really nice bar. Fortunately, just a first entry long. Once again, I'm still scared that this may want to retest. You do have the overshoot, like I said, and you're testing this resistance from the upper side now. Really nice bar, but not really a setup. I mean, it's just a first entry. It's not a high or low. It's like a 1, 2, Oh, you made a new low here, so it's not really a failure in any way either. So I don't think you can take that long. It's like it would have worked nicely. Maybe some spike in channel now. Let's see what happens when we come back to the key entry point. Pushes lower. Looks like a break from the spike in channel. Just waiting. I wouldn't really be thinking long yet. Let's see if we can break some pivot points to the upper side first before we start thinking about longs. Floating way above the EMA. It looks like maybe that we have a tighter uptrend here. And you can see it's in play, holding quite well. Looks like it gets a break now. Just rallying way above the EMA. Not really anything to take up here. Let's see what happens when we come back to the EMA. It's kind of an unknown in this area because you've now got a pretty strong move up. Kind of a weird one that started after initial little spike. But with the downtrend, this may want to retest this spike in channel here. You do have the overshoot, so it's a hard thing to know because sometimes overshoots will just straight up reverse. They don't always break the other side and then get a retest. So let's see what happens. We get a second entry long, like a failure of it, but just in no man's land and very congested. Now we get like a visual second entry long. You've got a leg down, two-legged correction, leg down. Also like a mini failed break lower. I still would be worried because this is played out, so I would just be waiting here. It doesn't trigger anyway. And now you get another nice bar. Personally, it just feels like it's kind of in no man's land. It's hard to know if we're going higher or lower here. There's also this little micro trend in play, so I wouldn't take that. You can see now that it pushed higher, we can start to think maybe that we're in some little range or a bigger uptrend here. It did get the retest again. We already had the break a new high here, but you can see it retested once again. Clearly finding, you can see we're making higher lows, higher highs here, so I'd maybe draw something like this. It's not the cleanest channel. It does fit the midline pretty well and the upper side as well. It's kind of odd because it's touching this wick rather than a body, but you can see it touches that body. So maybe some variation of this. We'll see if it holds when it comes over to the side. It does fit midline and upper side pretty nicely though. So right here we're in V shapes, big up, big down, big up, big down. And now we're right in the middle of that with some congestion, so I wouldn't take this. Let's see if we can work our way back to the key entry point. And now we get this bar, still right in the middle of that congestion and that range. EMA very flat, but right off that key entry point. It's also a first entry short, second entry short failure. You know, you're not looking for those as much mid-range, but you know, take that into account. Also first entry long, second entry long. And if you watch this bar form, it pushed down here and then perfectly reversed and closed on its high. You could argue that the range is a little bit higher. We bounced here, had a little failed breakout, bounced here again off the wick. So I was afraid of this in real time, but seeing how bullish it really was after the fat call on this one, I think this is okay to take. I really do. I think that combining the fact that we were just working, yes, we're working sideways, but we're really just working our way over to this bigger key entry point. Also had my range a little low. It seems like maybe this is where the support is. So there's a couple reasons to try to justify this one in my opinion. There's also some reasons to avoid it. So if you took that, I think it's okay. Clearly like a little two-legged correction here. Also the failure, like I said, triple test, key entry point. But, you know, some downsides to it too. So if you took that, I understand. Would have worked quite nicely, of course. Pushes higher. Maybe we can come back, get a second entry long here. We're thinking pretty bullish now. Just to give you a little idea where we are overall, we're coming up on those overnight lows. We're actually above the actual low, but coming up on the support of the overnight range. And we're still wanting to work higher, so this overshoot seems to be creating a reversal rather than a break and new low. So we'll keep that in mind. Unfortunately, we get the first entry to a new high, so no setup there. Keeps pushing higher, breaks the trend line. I was also watching some little spike in channel here. It actually fits pretty well. It would be another reason to consider that long there. It's right off that key entry point. Let's redraw this a little bit. There we go. We get this micro trend down here. Get this lower high. It'd be the first break of this spike in channel, first break of this big uptrend. It's kind of far from the EMA. Really sweet bar, but in this context, I don't like it. And now we get a second entry long. It's back at this little support area. It's not quite touching the, when I say this support area, I mean this little smaller one. It's not quite touching the major support. This bar is really big and scary to take something right after. If it's kind of in no man's land, this is a little break from this spike in channel. So you do have a break in new low on the downtrend, the micro downtrend here. So if you took this, I get it. But this bar right before it really scares me. You can see it would have stopped you out, and now you get this little inside bar. So no trade there. Pushes up. Now you get this higher low here. I like this trade. In real time, I was a little afraid. I take bigger scalps, so I need more room. You can see there's not much room here, but if you're taking small scalps, or if you drop the limit on this, I think you can take it. You know, you just had the first break from the spike in channel, so it's probably going to retest. You also had the first break from this trend channel, the big one, so it's probably going to retest. So if you drop a limit on this, I think it's okay. Your downtrends have played out. One downside to this is that you can see you turned off this previous little resistance level. Rather than pushing above it, coming back and testing it from the upper side, you really just turned down, and now you're kind of fighting through it when you take the trade. So that's one downside to it, but I still think it's pretty decent, especially if you're dropping a nice limit. Just wish it didn't close so high up. Really would have liked this to push above, come back, tested it right on the EMA, nice larger lower wick, and then closed a little bit in like this area here. But you know, got to take what you can get sometimes, and so if you took that, I think it's decent. Both of these I was afraid of in real time, and I think I shouldn't have been quite as afraid. You can see it would have worked nicely. Pushes way higher. And this is just starting to get super bullish. This does appear like the uptrends have maybe played out now. This is the first leg up, so we could get 2 legs to a new high. So let's see, we correct now. This retest leg was pretty strong in and of itself. So maybe we can get a second entry long. And no, we just plummet straight through the EMA. So no setup there. Bounces here again. Almost kind of back at this key entry point. So now we get finally that first entry. Let's see if we come back to the EMA. We do. We get this higher low here. Kind of scary because this doesn't have a retest of its low yet. And you just get this little weak inside bar. If you got a really strong bar here, maybe you take it, but not a little weak inside bar after a major micro downtrend. Probably needs a retest. And you can see here, it pushes lower. And then breaks above. This is actually a failed second entry short. If you got a better bar here that closed above the EMA, that's probably going to trap shorts, to be honest. But unfortunately, you closed right here underneath the EMA, and this may get that retest. So a little scary there. At this point, I started watching another channel. It's like a spiking channel. You can see this fits pretty well. When we bounced here, you'd be looking for that. Kind of weird, just this little baby spike, and then folds over into this channel. But I do think it's valid in the end. It holds rather well at the midline, the low side, and the upper side. So, and now you can see that failed second entry short worked. Wish we got a good bar there, but you didn't get it. Pushing way higher. And at this point, you'd be able to set your second leg for your break of your initial trend. So we're getting close to that measured move. So let's see how we create to the EMA. You may want to pause on longs just for a minute, because if this isn't valid, which it does appear valid, but if it's not, then the uptrend could be over. We're just kind of in no man's land, no major area here that's going to want to turn it. So just still fighting higher. You can see we pretty much made it to the upper side right here. You get a first entry long. And also, before I forget, it seems like maybe this was a trend as well. So this is the first break from that. So this may want to retest as well. We got close to this upper side, but you could argue that you're not quite there. So now we get just a first entry long. And let's see if we can get like a higher low that's not this far away from the EMA. And we come back, no bars there, unfortunately. And it just rallies higher once again. Fortunate we didn't get anything there. If this would have came back, really tested that EMA, I think you could take a good trade right in here, but not this, just floating like this. Pushes way higher, and actually we're past 330 now, but let's see how we ended. I think it got very bullish. Yeah, you can see how ridiculous it got. So it looks like maybe there was something else in here like this. That looks pretty nice. And it just kept getting more and more bullish. One thing to note is we had a gap on the chart from a couple days ago. Looks like it was right. Actually, that one was filled. It was this one right here. Wow, so we got way past that. This gap right here was never filled. You can see we tried yesterday, and then today, beginning of the day, we tried, couldn't, and then obviously we easily got it by the end of the day. So even if these trades right here were earlier in the day, there's still just not too many setups unless you're, taking some more aggressive ones off this key entry point, like these good bars right here and here. You do get this higher low here, just a little inside bar, unfortunately, after this has a new high. But, on a day that got this bullish, if it was earlier in the day, maybe you take any good bar off the EMA pretty much. There's no clear downtrend in play. So, yeah, at this point, it feels like I'm just rambling. So, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Not too many trades for how crazy the price action was. You had the second entry short here. Let me go to my mouse. You had the second entry short right here. You had the lower high right here. A couple maybes through here as well. You had these two that I was a little afraid of in real time, but looking back, I think were pretty decent. The failed second entry short, second entry long triple test trade right here off the key entry point, and then the higher low right here. So yeah, crazy reversal day, pretty unexpected. So let's see if we make another new high on the ES with that much momentum. Maybe next week we get there. So thanks for watching, guys. Hope you got a great weekend. And we'll see y'all next week.